Hello and welcome back. My name's Amanda Kelly and this is Bacon Bits. Bacon Bits is a series of training designed with your busy schedule in mind. Bacon Bits provides technology integration support and tips for your classroom. This week we're going to be talking about tips and tricks of Google Classroom. Now we have had some previous episodes about Google Classroom, so if you're interested in learning more about how to manage your students or archive a class, make sure to check out those previous episodes. This week we're going to be talking about how to make your workflow more efficient when working in Google Classroom. To get started, we're going to take a look at the Google Classroom homepage, and I'm going to show you a couple items that are located here that will help you when working in Google Classroom. The first one is called the To Review tab, and it's located on the main Google Classroom homepage. When you click on the To Review, it's going to pull up a list of items that you have assigned in your Google Classrooms. The To Review tab is a great way to take a look at the assignments that you've given and see which parts still need to be graded and which ones are ready to be returned to students. At the top, you have the option to sort and filter whether you want to see the items for all of your classes or if you want to see them for a specific class. So here you can see I have lots of different classes. So if I just want to see the items in my demo class, I can filter to just that. Or if I want to see all of my classes, I can see that. So looking down here, you can see the different assignments that I have in my Google Classroom. On the right side, you see 3 columns where it says what has been turned in, what has been assigned, and what has been graded. The turned in tells you what has been submitted back to you and is ready to be graded. The second column, assigned, tells you how many you have put out to students that still have not been completed. And then the last column, graded, is how many you have graded and are ready to be returned to students or already have been returned to students. So for example, in this assignment, 0 are turned in ready to be graded, 4 haven't been completed, and 1 has been graded. Looking at the next assignment though, none have been turned in, none are still waiting to be assigned, and all have been graded. So this means that this assignment has been turned in, I've graded it, and they've been returned back to the students. So this is ready to come off of my to review list. If you're type A like me, then you like to have things off of your list when they're done. You can do this as an option in the to review tab. On the right, you see that 3-dot menu. When you click it, you can mark it as reviewed, and it will come off the list as being completed. Now, you can do this for all assignments in your to review checklist, and this will help you keep track of what assignments you have graded and what assignments still need to be graded. Now, you don't have to mark it as reviewed. It's just not going to come off the list. So you can still use this as a way to check what needs to be graded, but just keep in mind that unless you mark it as reviewed, it'll remain here in this to review tab. Once you mark things as reviewed, you can still go back and view them. If you look at the top, you have the to review, and then the reviewed tab shows you all the things that you have marked as reviewed, and they're located here. So they aren't gone, they're just out of that to review section. Heading back to the Google homepage, the next thing I want to show you is the Google Calendar. Now, the Google Classroom Calendar is different than your Google Calendar that is attached to your email address. In your Google Classroom Calendar, it's going to show you when your due dates are for your assignments. At the top, you see that same drop-down menu where you can sort and filter whether you want to see all of your classes or a specific class. Heading back to that same Google homepage, the next thing I want to talk about is the Google Classroom settings. From the homepage, you see the 3-line menu beside the words Google Classroom. If you click on that menu and scroll to the bottom of the list of your Google Classrooms, you're going to see the Settings button. You can click on that Settings button, and from here you can change the email settings set up with Google Classroom. So if you would like to receive email notifications from Google Classroom when students complete assignments or when things are posted, you make sure that this is turned on. If you don't want to receive those emails, then you can turn it off and you'll have to manually check your Google Classroom for things that are being turned in. The next thing I want to talk about is just a way to organize your Google Classrooms on your homepage. When you create Google Classrooms or join Google Classrooms, the tiles are going to generate on the homepage in order from newest to oldest. Now, if you want to rearrange those in a way that makes sense and is easily accessible from you, you can change the order. In order to change the order of your tiles, all you have to do is click on the tile and drag it to where you want it to go. This way you can rearrange your tiles in the order that maybe you teach your classes, or maybe you prefer them alphabetically, or you have another way in which you like to organize. My next tip is going to be for those who are returning teachers to us. If you taught with us last year and then you're in the same grade level, you have the benefit of being able to use the reuse post in Google Classroom this year. Reuse posts allows you to duplicate posts from other Google Classrooms into your current Google Classroom. So if you're teaching the same grade level and you want to reuse a project or an assignment that you used last year, you can use the reuse post button in Google Classroom to regenerate it in your new Google Classroom for this school year without having to retype and redo your things on Google Drive. Here's how you do that. You click the Create button, and from the drop-down list, you're going to see the option to reuse a post. It's going to have you choose the Google Classroom from where you want to get that post and then have you choose that assignment. So for example, I can choose any of my current Google Classrooms, but I also have access to all of the archived classrooms as well. Once you select your classroom, all the assignments from that class are going to pop up. You can select which one you want to reuse. And then you also have the option at the bottom to create new copies of all the attachments. I highly recommend that you do have this selected so that way you're not overwriting master copies or anything that you have saved from the previous year. Then click Reuse. It's going to bring up a draft of that assignment with all of the information that you had in before. So you still have the option to make some changes and edits if you like, and then when it's how you want it, you can click Post and post it to your new Google Classroom. The next thing I want to talk about is a way to help you grade work in Google Classroom more efficiently. The first tip I have is to use rubrics when grading work. Now, bear with me, I'm going to show you how this works. Here is a demo assignment. I'm going to open this up and edit it to show you how to create a rubric. So here you can see I already have my assignment attached, and on the right you see this button to add a rubric. If you click Add a Rubric, you can create a rubric, reuse a rubric, or import a rubric from Sheets. If you've never used a rubric before, then you're going to want to create a rubric. Once you start using rubrics, you're going to be able to reuse them for similar assignments. I'm going to click Create to show you what it looks like. At the top, you have the option to use the scoring in the order by descending or ascending. This will make more sense once you see an example of how to grade with a rubric. I prefer to have it descending, but it's up to you and it is teacher preference. Next is your criterion, title, description, and points. So for example, in my assignment, I have 10 questions and I'm going to say it's for a math homework assignment. So my criterion title, I'm just going to call it question number 1. I don't need to add a description, and then I'm going to say how many points that it is required. For this question, let's make it 1 point if they have it partially correct. We're going to add another level and we'll have it be 2 points for correct. So for example, say this is a math homework assignment and I want to give 2 points for full credit and 1 point if they have a mistake. And then I'll add a 0 points for an incorrect answer. Once I have this set up for my assignment, I can duplicate this criterion. Clicking on that 3-dot menu at the top, you can see the duplicate criterion, and it's going to duplicate the same thing over again with the same point values and the same titles. Here I can change my criterion title to question number 2 and then continue duplicating until I have all of the questions that I have on my assignment. Okay, now I have all 10 of my questions created and I have all the points for my rubric. Now, keep in mind, this is going to be a little time consuming when you're starting out, but like I said before, you can reuse rubrics once you start making them. I'm going to click Save to save my rubric. And so now I have my rubric down here. It says I have 10 criteria for 20 points total. Now I'm ready to assign it to my students. Now I'm going to hop over to my student account and go ahead and complete the assignment so that we have something to grade. All right, so now I'm back in my teacher account and I can see that I've turned in my assignment from my student account. Let's take a look at that assignment and show you how to use the rubric to grade it. I'm going to open up the assignment to grade, and on the right you're going to see that rubric automatically populate on the right. So now as I'm going through and I'm grading the work, I can click how many points from the rubric to add to the assignment. You see here there are 3 bars because I gave 3 criteria. Now remember, they were 0, 1, and 2. 0 points for an incorrect answer, 1 point for a partially correct answer, and 2 points for a correct answer. And I did select descending so that my correct answers are going to be on the left, the first thing I click, and the incorrects are going to be on the right, the last thing I click. Now at the top, you did have the option to make them ascending, so they would be in reverse, and again, that's teacher preference. So going through, I'm going to grade question number 1, correct, question number 2, correct, question number 3, correct, question number 4, correct, 5, correct, 6, correct, 7, correct. 8, I'm going to take off 1 point for spelling. Number 9, we'll say that that's correct. And question number 10, we'll say that's correct. And we'll say, oh, just kidding. When I go back and look at number 7, I see that they forgot their dash. So I want to change that to partially correct and take a point off for that dash. So now you can see I've already graded this whole assignment just by clicking on my rubric, and it generates my grade. The next thing I'm going to show you also involves grading, and it's called using the comment bank to auto-populate comments. So when you're grading an assignment, there's a bar between the actual assignment and then the right side where we were grading in the rubric. And you're going to see this gray speech bubble, and this is where you can access your comment bank. When you click it, you'll see your comment bank appear. Now I've been in here and I've been working, so I've already generated a couple comments that are auto-populated, and all your comments that are in your comment bank will be visible here on the bottom. But you can add comments to your comment bank. This is where you can store common things that you are applying to students each day, like you forgot to put your name on this. Don't forget to check your spelling. This needs a dash. So here I'm going to add to my bank, and I can create a comment. So for my comment, I'm going to say, great job, and add it to my comment bank. Now you can be more descriptive in your comments if you'd like, but this is just for an example. So now that I have my comment bank created, I can copy it to a clipboard and paste it, or I can insert it when I'm adding comments. So for example, I can highlight this problem that I took points off, and I can add a comment, and then I'm going to pull it from my comment bank. To pull from my comment bank, I'm going to start with the hashtag symbol, and you're going to see my most commonly used comments appear first, but as you start to type the comment, it will filter down to what you're looking for. So here I'm looking for incorrect spelling, and it's here in my list, but say my list was a little bit longer, I could start to type incorrect, and it's going to appear. It's going to auto-populate that comment. So remember, like I said, you can add more details and have lengthier comments, but you're only going to be typing a couple keys to make it pop up. Click the comment button, and now that comment is added to this work. And so you're providing feedback to students, and it only took a few seconds. Again, it's going to take some prep work in creating your comment bank, but once you have it created, just like your rubrics, it's going to make grading things much faster. Now that I have added feedback and I've got a grade here, I can close my comment bank and go back to my grading rubric, and I check to make sure that I have everything completed. I have my grade, and I've provided feedback. I can return. Back on the classwork tab, I'm going to show you another way to share assignments with students. Google Classroom now has it so that you can copy links for assignments. So say, for example, you have a student who's having a hard time finding a specific assignment that you've given. You can copy the assignment link and send it to them directly in a chat or an email. To copy an assignment link, you're going to see that 3-dot menu next to your assignment. If you click on it, you have the option to copy the link. You can copy the link, and I'm going to show you just by putting it into the toolbar up here on a new page. If I paste that link, it's going to take me directly to that assignment. So this will help you direct students to the correct assignment that they're looking for if they're having a hard time finding it. All right, now it's time for your Try It. For your Try It today, you're going to be creating a practice assignment in Google Classroom. Don't worry, we're not going to post it, so you'll be able to delete it once you're done. To create the assignment, click the + Create button at the top. Choose Assignment from the drop-down menu and give it a title. Add some instructions, and then you can add an attachment if you wish, but for our practice purposes, this is not necessary. On the right, I want you to click the Rubric button to open the rubric, and we're going to create a rubric. Once the rubric page opens up, you're going to be giving Criterion titles, descriptions, and points. For our Try It, we're going to create a rubric for a 5-problem homework assignment. So for a Criterion title, for number 1, I'm just going to put the number 1. Now you can be more descriptive if you like, but for your intents and purposes to create grading faster, number 1 is sufficient. Next, for points, I'm going to add as many points as I want to provide for this problem. So if this problem is only worth 1 point, then I'm only going to need 2 levels here. I'm going to need 1 point for correct and then a 0 for incorrect. So to add another point value, you're going to click the green plus sign beside the points. Another box will appear, and here you can add 0 and then give it a title. Here I'm just going to write incorrect so that it provides that feedback to the student. Now that I've created my first problem, I'm going to want the rest of my problems and my titles to be exactly the same, so I'm going to duplicate this for the remainder of my rubric. To duplicate this title or this criterion, I'm going to go over to the 3-dot menu on the right, click that menu, and then click Duplicate Criterion. It's going to populate below with the same title, description, and point value, and I'm just going to change the title to 2 for question number 2. I'm going to repeat this process 3 more times to make questions 3, 4, and 5. Again, I'm going to click that 3-dot menu, click Duplicate Criterion, and then change the question to number 3. Again, click that 3-dot menu, duplicate the criterion, and then change the question to number 4. Click the 3-dot menu, duplicate criterion, and change it to number 5. Now I have a 5-question rubric where they get credit for it being correct or incorrect. So it's only 1 point value. I'm going to scroll back to the top to check and make sure. At the top, I can see on the right that it's out of 5 points total. So that means that my rubric is going to grade out of 5. If I'm satisfied with what I see, then I'm going to click Save. And now my rubric is here and available. As you start to use more rubrics, you'll be able to reuse them for more and more posts. Now, again, because this is a practice assignment, make sure that you don't click Assign, that you click the X, and so it stays as a draft, and then that 3-dot menu beside your draft, and delete. And then delete your draft assignment, so that way it's not floating in your Google Classroom. All right, I hope you found this week's bit helpful. Make sure you leave feedback and take the quiz to get credits for your CEUs, and I'll see you next week.